Came today for the Lower Long Lake Board meeting, and it's on July 31st. If we could start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, so first we'll start with reviewing of the posted meeting notices.
Okay, thanks to Tom here, all the meeting notices were posted in the appropriate locations and timely for a business meeting of the Long Lake Board.
Perfect. Thank you, Tom. And next we have public comment. If anybody would like to come on up to the podium, just say your name and.
So this is Progressive AE manager,
gotcha.
Paul Hausler
All right.
and Mary Helen. Last name is Prince.
So they'll be in one
They'll
of
be
the
here
agenda
to
items.
discuss and talk about other items. They're actually not on the agenda, but.
Oh, okay. But here in case. All right. Well, thank you. Next, we have approving the business meeting minutes of June 2nd. We've all had a chance to look them over. Unless there are changes, I look for a motion.
I'll move.
Motion by Mike Vlasic. Support by J.C. Garrison. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? That does pass. Next is to review the 2022 lake maintenance. Do you want to do that, Mike?
Well, I can. I mean, so the report's
want-
in there. You know, the report from Lake Pro is in there. I think that's really the only thing under this section, right?
Yes.
And you know, it's consistent with previous years. I mean, we're getting a good data set now. We've got like 10 or 12 years. And so I think Lower Long Lake's doing great. I mean, the water quality seems, from what you can observe, really high, and all the statistics are really good. So I think we'll just kind of keep doing it.
I'm doing a good thing. Nice to see healthy next to everything.
Yeah, it's super clear, which is sort of the one sort of outstanding characteristic of it. But we just seem like we're in like a winning cycle, you know. Island Lake's had some challenges over the years with algae and other stuff, and Lower Long Lake has just sort of avoided all
I
that.
was just going to ask you, in March and such, we had some people coming in with a lot of algae issues and didn't have
Lake and
quality of that, so.
And in Lower Long?
Test, no, from
Oh, yeah.
others. What do you attest as maybe what would be the magic
Oh, yeah.
bullets, shall we say?
Well, so actually, I think first of all, Lower Long Lake, I think, just benefits from the fact it's so big and it's deeper, and it's just, you know, it's got a higher circulation of the water, you know, more water flowing through it. But in addition, you know, we've never put any chemicals in the lake, and some of those, I mean, that was really what started Island Lake's troubles a few years ago, is when they tried to treat for the algae, and it started a cycle that was really hard to recover from. And I think harvesting the weeds does it, because we noticed that in the early part of the year, before the weeds grow, particularly if it's warm, that's when the algae starts to grow. But the minute the weeds start to grow and absorb all the other nutrients, the algae just sort of goes away. And so then we harvest the weeds and it goes away. So we do have people who are in really canal-like places, you know, little places where the water doesn't circulate and stuff, who sometimes have algae and they complain about it. But I think that's mostly because of fertilization, you know, they fertilize a lot and it runs off. And that just gives the algae a big boost. But I wish I knew the answer, but it's all worked out fine after all these years. Ignorance is bliss.
More
So
reasons
far.
to keep you as riparian.
No, it's horrible. You get rid of the riparian, he's a problem.
All right. Does anyone have any questions about this? No? All right, then we'll go on to the next one. Is to confirm expenditures since last review of June 2nd, 2022 to July 28, 2023. I'll have Clerk Brooke go over those.
So in the packet behind, looks like item 6 is a table listing the payees and the description and the amounts, and then a detailed expense ledger. As you can see, these are things related to harvesting of weeds, just as was mentioned. Agreed upon share of the boat repair and other items, similar items. If anyone has any questions.
No? All right, then if there's no questions, I would look for a motion to confirm.
I'll move. So moved.
Motion by Mike Vlasic. Support by J.C. Garrison. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? All right, that does pass. Next, we'll review the 2022 revenues, expenses, and fund balance report. Do you want to do
This
that?
is,
Yeah.
I can do that too. This is as of the end of the fiscal year, 3/31. The revenues were just a little over $104,000, and expenses were just a little over $97,000. And that added $7,200 to the fund balance, which at the beginning of the fiscal year was $35,643.
Is there any target for the
we have-
fund balance, just out of curiosity?
Do you want to go ahead and cover that? He's talking about the fund balance targets. Do
I
you want
mean,
to give the
if you want to
statute?
give statutes.
Yeah, there's a statute
Oh,
requirement.
The statute,
I think you're right here, close to Mark. Yes. Yes, this is Angela Powell, Commissioner Powell, thank you.
Thank you. I'm sorry, no, my tardy.
That's all right. It's all right, we start on time though.
No, I got called back.
Well, we did wait a few.
Yeah,
I got called back trying.
it's okay.
Yeah, so that's what caused my lateness, so, thank you.
The statute says when you're adopting the
Annual budget?
assessment, you should include between 10 and 15% as kind of a reserve urgency in case there's an error.
Okay.
So that's kind of the target we generally shoot for, and so if it's getting a little bit higher than the 10 to 15 at the next assessment, maybe consider using some of that to lower rates.
Okay, that makes sense.
It's a good position to be in compared to the opposite.
Which is when I started,
Some that had it.
negative, yeah.
Yeah, so see,
More reason to
turned
keep
it
that.
around. More reason to keep the riparian.
It's right.
So any other questions on that? No? All right, so we'll go on to review and certification of delinquent 2022 assessments to the assessor.
Okay, these items are from last summer's assessments. They're behind item number 8. They were, at that time, there's just, looks like 5 of them. They were added to the, not paid on time. They are added to the township tax bill. And almost in every instance, they're paid at that time. And if anyone doesn't pay their taxes, that's referred to the county, and the county collects through their process. But our job is to certify the delinquencies that existed as of the end of last summer's collections.
Any questions on that? I'll go for a motion to certify.
I'll move.
Motion by Mike Vlasic. Support by J.C. Garrison. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? That does pass. Next, we'll consider approval to obtain insurance for the Lower Long Lake Improvement Board and its members.
I can introduce this as well. This is, behind item number 9, is a quote for insurance for directors and officers insurance for the board and its members. We used our insurance agent to solicit bids, and only one insurance firm submitted a bid. And you can see it here in the packet, it's about $1,800 for directors and officers insurance. During the past couple of years, 2 of our lake boards have been defendants in lawsuits, non-meritorious types of lawsuits.
Yes.
But we still had to retain counsel, and one of the riparians was listed as a defendant. And previously, lake boards didn't have its own insurance for the board itself or the riparian or other members. So we're recommending this as an additional, it is additional ongoing expense that would be part of the administration of the lake board, but given these litigious times, it seems to make a lot of sense.
Especially because I was shocked that we didn't have any protection, for example, the riparian.
Poor
So
guy.
when it happens, like, for example, I've never been on a board without the insurance already there. And when this happened in another lake, the riparian didn't have protection.
Oh, yeah.
And for example, these are frivolous lawsuits, as Martin pointed out. These, there was absolutely no merit to it, but that doesn't stop somebody from suing.
Right.
So when 2 neighbors
Hire
don't like
attorneys.
anybody, they, or don't like each other and they can't figure it out, they will sue everybody in their wake. So the township, the lake board, RCOC, you name it, any WRC, everybody can be affected. And we are all protected, but the riparian was not. So this came up where it was it about $13,000 total with what they each?
Yeah,
Okay.
one was roughly that number, maybe a little higher, closer to 14, and one was right around 10.
Yeah.
There's two lake boards total.
So it's just to prove that it never should have existed. That was a large expense to have to come out because there was no insurance to just make sure that was protected.
So this is the quote for directors and officers insurance. There is a secondary insurance that I'm requesting us to approve, which would be just general liability, type of insurance, injuries, slips and falls, that kind of a thing.
Right.
And the total number that's recommended for that is
3,000.
$3,000. So I'd request, if you agree, the board agrees, a motion that authorizes the obtaining directors and officers insurance and GL insurance in amount of $3,000.
Do you have any questions about that?
Well, can I ask you kind of a weird question? I always thought you couldn't sue the government, but we're not effectively the government here. We are the government,
We are.
but you
We are.
can't sue them. I was just wrong. You can't sue the government.
Can't sue the
People
government.
can sue, but you have to, even just to
If you-
put your motions of dismissals and
Okay.
everything, it all adds
Even
up.
if you win, it costs money. Okay.
Yeah, for example, and I'd like to point this out, when you're suing the lake board, you're suing your neighbors. Because who is paying for that $10,000 and $14,000 are the riparians on the water. So effectively, two neighbors who were getting along on one spot caused a lot of extra money that comes out of that. The township got sued, the RCOC got sued, the lake board. That's a lot of unnecessary costs and strife. So just a reminder to anybody who might be paying attention, when you sue the lake board, you're suing your neighbors. So please don't. But just in case they don't listen, we also have insurance to protect you now, so.
One of our, actually had to do a special assessment for
Yeah.
Oh, really?
one of the lake board situations to cover the legal expenses.
I was,
Well, I'll move. Right, that's what you
don't move
want.
away.
Yes.
I'll move.
Feel like a motion.
I'll make a motion.
$500 just to make sure we get, everything right.
Yeah.
I support.
Great. Motion by Mike Vlasic, support by Clerk Brooke. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? That does pass. Next is to consider adoption of the 2023 budget. Mike, or you?
Want to handle that one?
Yeah, so actually, I mean, everything else is the same, although this number's not in there, but I mean, maybe it's under general, right?
Infrastructure, yes, general.
Okay. All right, so I mean, the lake and property maintenance is the weed harvest and the water quality testing, which is under 3-year contracts.
Actually, I'm wrong, it's in business operations.
Okay. Oh, and so then, I guess that's where the insurance is.
Insurance, yes.
And then the infrastructure repairs, we just did the boat launch, but my guess is we'll build up some capacity to do that every 3 or 4 years. I mean, that was the estimate from the contractor, was that it would stay in its current condition for 3 or 4 years, but you need to do it every couple of years. So I think it helps to have a little kitty to do that. So this is,
We're also anticipating, there's a $5,000 in there for anticipated expenses associated with our next meeting, which concerns the Weir Inlet.
okay.
And then if it's not spent or needed, it wouldn't be spent, but just put it in there just in case. Any questions about the budget? If not, then I would look for a motion to accept.
So moved.
Moved by Mike Vlasic, support by J.C. Garrison. All in favor?
Aye.
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 All opposed? That does pass. Do we have any new business that anybody wants to? All right. So our last motion is for that to adjourn.
Move we adjourn.
Motion by Clerk Brooke, support by Engineer Powell. Commissioner Powell, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right. Thank you very much.